everybody. Today we're here with Nikki of Nikki's Tarot and Astrology. We are going to be doing Galactic Center Diaries. We're going to be talking about her Neptune conjunct the GC and her Mars and Ascendant conjunct the GC, but those are in Capricorn, so it's a little different. Still conjunct, but a little different than what I've looked at before in these Galactic Center Diary videos. So I guess I will start out with my first question. I'm going to be looking at my iPad, so nobody think I'm just like dicking off and not focused. Okay, so your Neptune, we'll start with Neptune. It's at 21 degrees Sagittarius. Your Neptune is conjunct the Galactic Center in the 12th house. It feels like things having to do with dreams and unconscious could be amplified with the GC and Neptune here. I also have to wonder, because it is in the 12th house, how conscious is the GC in waking life, or is it more conscious in dream life, or you know what I mean, or is it more of an undercurrent?
So when I was younger, I had a lot of dreams, mostly nightmares. And so I think at some point I blocked them out, and now I rarely ever remember my dreams.
Okay. So
honestly, it's one of those, I feel it, but I don't act on it.
Okay.
I don't when I'm awake, but when I'm sleeping, I've completely blocked it out due to the fact that it was just a consistent stream of nightmares. So when I do have dreams that I remember, they are very vivid, okay, very telling, somewhat on the prophetic side.
I was going to ask if they were.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 So let me ask about this then, because you also have Neptune is direct in your chart.
Mm-hmm.
So since I've kind of got this theory going on that planets that are retrograde, or planets that are direct, kind of turn retrograde by way of being conjunct the GC, it kind of changes them that way. Do you feel like your Neptune functions more like a Neptune retrograde would function? And just for some clarification for anybody watching that may not know exactly what I mean, Neptune retrograde usually has, well, first it has a need to be connected to source, or to God, or to the divine in some way, the great architect, however you want to phrase it. There usually is a desire for that, but also there's a need to bust through illusions and delusions that, Neptune direct can Neptune can be a lot of wonderful things, but there can be some illusions and delusions that come along with it. So the retrograde motion tends to want to bust through those. Do you feel like your Neptune functions more in those ways?
It very much does. Yeah, I'm always on. I was never comfortable with the idea that there's nothing out there.
Okay.
I could never settle on atheist. Couldn't do it because it just never felt right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I honestly, I always attributed it to being a Sagittarius and the whole search for the truth thing.
Yeah.
But yes, when you put it that way, it definitely, it's almost like I can feel when there's crap surrounding what I'm reading. So I have to, I have to search for whether or not it's real or it's like a myth, or, I really have to look for it.
Yeah. So that you can figure out what's, what is, yes. No, I understand. Okay. 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 So you also have your Ascendant and Mars. They're both at 1 degree Capricorn. Okay. So with the Ascendant conjunct the GC. Now, people have not phrased it this exact way, but it does kind of, the impression that I've gotten from what people that have done the questionnaire have kind of said about this, it feels like the person might feel like they're kind of walking a cosmic tightrope where they could very easily fall one way or the other. Mm-hmm. Really, they don't necessarily want to do this, but they could. Some people might need to, I don't, but but yeah, it's kind of like just walking a cosmic tightrope.
Or like you're kind of half here, half not here, and
Yes, I could see
somewhere in this world and somewhere in the other. Yeah, definitely. I've never been able to like envision a future for myself.
Okay.
I've never really felt here.
Okay.
Fully. So yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. I've always, and it's funny too. I think, like you said, it's in Capricorn. I should be that big planner, but I'm not.
Yeah, I think that, yeah. And that probably, I do think that is the GC's influence kind of, messing with it a little bit. And Mars. Okay. So Mars retrograde, there can be like, okay, so we're Mars direct, right? And again, I know that you probably know all this. I'm just saying this for anybody that's watching. Mars direct wants to just act, right? It just wants to take action and act. Retrograde, though, it actually needs to kind of think about these actions, or actually, you know what I mean? Like internalize these, make sure that the actions are actually correct, which can be really frustrating for Mars to, function that way. And since your Mars is direct, but it is conjunct the GC, I do wonder if your Mars functions that way, or if you find that you function better that way when you function that way.
So it is one of those, I don't take action, especially it's in conjunction with my ascendant that should be front and center with me, and it's just not. Yeah, I will I'll keep my mouth shut. I won't say what I need to say. I won't do what I need to do because I don't have the drive that a Mars ascendant conjunction should have in any way, shape, or form. So I hold back. I plan more. I make sure I'm careful with what I say, or I just don't say anything at all, keep it all to myself until it all builds up. And then Mars comes out full force.
I bet it does. I bet it does. Okay, so it does function more like a retrograde Mars. And I was curious about this one because it's not applying, right? It's separating from it. So I was kind of curious what you might say about that particular one, just being on the other, on the other end of it. Let me see. And you also have your moon.
Mm-hmm.
Moon is it's a little wider. It's at 4 degrees Cancer, correct? 4 degrees?
Yes.
It's in the which house is that? It's in
my 7th.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's right on it's right. I don't have your chart pulled at the moment, but yeah, it's right kind of.
Yeah, it's right 3 degrees from the descendant.
Yes. Okay. Okay. But it's in that window of orb. I'm looking at 10 degrees applying, 10 degrees separating from the galactic center and the galactic anti-center. So it's in that window of orb. Mm-hmm. And you've got your moon in Cancer. But I have to wonder if being within that window of orb of the galactic anti-center, if there's any like space dust that covers your emotions or.
Yeah, I don't share emotions well at all. And I don't even realize that I feel them until I get hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm guessing with the opposition to Mars, that might be when shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So it is a little, because, you look at the Cancer moon and you think this is somebody who probably does embrace that feeling, or, but I mean, I will say this, it is also conjunct the descendant. So it is kind of part of a shadow of you anyway. Right. But it does feel like this would be intensified with the dust, space dust, or with the blinding, or with what have you, however you put it.
Even as a parent, I mean, it's my parenting style. I'm not the super nurturing, involved, and all that parent that you would see with a Cancer moon.
Yeah.
So even that is kind of getting covered too.
Okay.
Like I'm uncomfortable with the affection type of stuff and all of that as a parent and in a relationship. So
my Capricorn moon understands. from a different vantage point, but I get it. I do get it.
Yeah.
I do get it. Okay, let me see. What else do I have? Okay. So you also have, okay, so you have a trine.
Yeah.
And just for anybody that may, because I don't think I've gone into the trines yet in the Galactic Center Diary videos, but I think the trine is a way for the energy at the GC to come down to Earth, along with where the plant, like a planet at the Galactic Anti-Center, because I do think planets at the Galactic Anti-Center get shocked. And the trine is also a place for you. You're nodding. I know you know what I mean. The trine is also a place for that energy to kind of ground itself when it gets shocked.
Mm-hmm.
So yours is we're talking about your IC in Aries. Right. It's at 21, right? 21 Aries, yes. Is that right? Yes. Okay. So since we're talking about a point and not a planet, you also want to look at Mars, which rules Aries, and Mars is conjunct to the Galactic Center. Mm-hmm. So I have to wonder how exactly this one plays out for you, or how do you think it plays?
So my Pallas Athena is actually there. It's at 17 Aries in the third house.
Okay.
So what I find, and because of that, the moon Mars being in the T square, and me getting lost in that point, I find that if I lean into that Pallas Athena of the pattern, the communication pattern recognition and all of that, and trusting the like intuitive hits that I get through that, it seems to balance the rest of it out.
Oh, cool.
The rest of it for like acting out.
Like the intuitive, since we're talking about the IC, like the intuitive hits that you like get at your core, right? That's
right. Yeah.
And it kind of helps. I know we were talking about downloads just a little bit ago. Yeah. I feel like it kind of like almost helps to make sense of those things too.
I think it does. My whole thing is, we live in a world that tells you your intuition is you just being paranoid, right? So you start to ignore it. But once I've learned that's really where a lot of my intuition comes from, is that Pallas Athena. It ends up popping out there through, people saying something or whatever. And once I've learned how to trust what it's saying, I've heard this bullshit before thing. Once I've learned how to do that, it's almost like I settle. I get more stable. I get more in that fourth house vibe of feeling grounded and rooted.
Do you feel like with your with Aries on the cusp of the IC and with Mars conjunct the GC, do you think that it also helps? Can you take action better when you are functioning the way that you're talking about? Does it help at all?
It does. If I lean into that, I am able to take the action. If I don't, I get lost.
Okay.
And I kind of just like shut down.
Okay. That makes sense. Because it does feel like with the planetary ruler of the IC conjunct the GC, that you could be like really on fucking point with shit like that, or it could become like warped, like or distorted the way that. So I think that's good. I didn't pull Pallas. I think it's good that you have her.
Yeah.
Or I love Pallas. So I think that's awesome that you that you utilize her. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so you also have Jupiter and Saturn conjunct the Super Galactic Center. What degrees are they at again?
Jupiter's at 5 and Saturn's at 7.
Okay, I knew it was something. And the Super Galactic Center is at 1 in your 1 degrees in your chart. Okay, so let me see how do I have this worded here? Okay, it makes me wonder about what you might feel that you need to compromise and balance, especially in terms of what you understand and even believe, right? Because of Jupiter, and what you feel responsible for with Saturn.
Well, so this works out in a kind of messed up way, honestly. Okay. So it's in my 9th house in Libra. Okay. I like to study things a lot. I like to, you know, I said I've gone down a research rabbit hole right now. So, and what happens is a lot of people they'll come to me and they'll ask me questions about the things that they know I've studied or actually have education and, you know, all of that. And then when I answer it, all I hear is, oh, that doesn't sound right. That's not what this person said. That's not, you know, it always gets blown off every time. And what I've started doing, what I really pretty much have always done is just say, okay, I guess I'm wrong, which of course in turn ends up me second guessing myself over time. So I think what ends up happening is I really start sacrificing all of the knowledge that I worked so hard to gain.
That
in order to give that Libra a balance.
That makes sense. And yes, and being in this particular part of Libra, I would imagine that it can feel incredibly sacrificing or incredibly compromising or
yes.
Yeah. Can I ask what you've tried to do about that? If you don't want to share that, you don't have to.
You know, I have such a hard time with it. And I think it's because it happens so much in work. I work construction, so I'm always around men that are second guessing me anyway. So, and my Black Moon Lilith is in Libra, right next to my midheaven in my 10th house.
Ooh. Cheers.
So I don't even know how to deal with all of that because Lilith is like over here wanting to rage against the machine, but then I'm sitting over here going, wait, I need a paycheck. So I usually just let it go anymore. I got mad and I quit my job a couple years ago, but that doesn't work out well when you do that. So I've just had to sacrifice it and suck it up just to keep a paycheck, honestly.
It's too bad that there's, and this isn't always, you know, realistic or real world, right? But it would be cool if you could get into something career wise where you didn't have, you know, where you didn't have to suck it up, or that you didn't have to fucking do that, because that sucks.
That's exactly why I'm really, and honestly, I feel like looking at my chart, the astrology and tarot is definitely where I belong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm working on doing that. As of right now, the construction is just a paycheck.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, and I understand.
Yeah.
One last thing about those two planets. Do you feel like they might function more like retrograde Saturn or retrograde Jupiter? And by retrograde Saturn, I mean like needing to, rather than, you know, well, I think you'll probably say yes to this just from what you were just talking about, but you know, like needing to kind of go against the status quo.
Yeah.
And Jupiter retrograde, kind of understanding things in the big scheme of things, kind of like reading a book backwards. You understand, you know the end, but it's like you have trouble figuring out why you know the end.
Yeah, definitely.
and you got to go backwards to the beginning and that put those pieces together. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's because that's the Super Galactic Center. While I have looked at it, it's not something that the GC and the Galactic Anti-Center have been my focus. So it's cool to hear that the stuff conjunct the Super Galactic Center also might function in the same kind of turning planets.
Right.
Retrograde.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that's it. You do have, I will mention that you do have stuff at the avatar points. But I have not, we were just talking about that. I have not delved enough into probably the Bible to really have explored that enough, but they are there and they definitely do stand out.
Yes. A lot.
But is there anything that I didn't ask that you would like to share about your experience with the GC or anything? If not, that's fine, but I wanted to ask.
I don't think so. No, I think the only thing, you know, I know, like I said, the Jupiter Saturn conjunction and then the Mars and Moon, it's all that T-square.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the opposite end of it, to, you know, balance it out, is very near the Aries point.
Yes.
So, yeah. And so it's interesting that in order to balance these things out, I have to go into full-blown Mars mode to really make all that stuff work.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, that is interesting. But I would imagine when it does work, it can work very well.
It does. Very, very well. Yes.
Well, I guess we'll head off here, but would you like to share where people can find you if they're interested in a reading or anything?
Okay. Yeah, it's at Nikki's Tarot and Astrology. I have Instagram and TikTok. I will be building YouTube soon. The channel's already up there if you want to go ahead and hit follow before I start putting stuff up. And I also have Facebook as well, but I don't do a whole lot on there either, but I can be contacted through Messenger there.
Okay. And I will put the links to these in the description box below so that you can find her. Okay. And thank you so much for coming on and doing this and wanting to do this.
This was fun, actually.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. And to everybody watching, I will see you all later.